another edition of VAFA Tragics. My name's Andrew Leonard and welcome to the show. It's good to be back to talk VAFA football with you as we welcome the panel. It's a very good evening to Martin Callagher.
Thanks, Andrew. Pivotal week in football too, I think.
It certainly is. I'm looking forward to hearing your take on a few things. I've got a little one I want to throw at you later on in the show, that's for sure. Will Bum, we've got you back for a second week. It's exciting to have you back, and your dress sense just gets better and better every week.
I was criticised last week by a few of my fans. I'm going to call them fans. I play footy with them. And I was also told that they thought I was standing up and these two boys were sitting down because of this slight height difference. There are no seats here. That's all I've got to say on that matter.
It's good to see the sledging hasn't got any better at Q.
That, of course, is the voice of Brenton, man. Brenton, great to have you back.
Good evening, Andrew, Marty, Wilbur.
I heard you were robbed of a goal.
I was robbed of the goal on the score sheet. Opening goal of the game. Div 2 reserves, massive crowd there. They saw probably the subdued celebration probably really let me down.
I'm sure we'll hear more about that later on. The news of the day, of course, is that the William Buck Premier Grand Final will not be played at Sports Cover Arena, Elsternwick Park, for the first time since, I think, the 1960s. It will instead be played at Carlton's Princes Park, or Icon Park it is now known. I'll start with you, Marty. What are your thoughts on this announcement that came via Michael Scholly's editorial during the week?
Two things. Playing surface facilities for players will be terrific. However, will it bring more people through the gate? I'm not 100% sure. Will it, and how does it affect some of our bottom line in many ways? If we think about it, all of a sudden the canteen disappears, and that's really important. I mean, I think that we all know from a club perspective, canteen, your bar with after match, being able to actually have all of those things, does that go out the door? What's the cost in regards to that? And does that far outweigh moving across the other side of town? I mean, I'm not adverse to travelling across town.
It moves from a north of the river contest to moves to a north of the river contest rather than the south of the river contest. Perhaps St Bernard's and Old Trinity, they're actually both north of the river, or the top two in William Buck Premier might be advantaged by that. It will be a great surface, Will. You're a fan of it.
I am indeed. I think the sentiment behind playing here at VAFA HQ is huge, but at the same time we've got to move forward with the times. And I think Princes Park, Icon Arena is a fantastic surface, fantastic ground to watch footy, and for me it's a good decision.
Brenton, the ground shape is a different one at Icon Park. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with it, but it's a very wide ground and not quite as long. I don't even think here is Elsternwick Park Sports Cover Arena. So very wide surface. Do you think that plays into the hands of any particular side?
I think it'll play right in the hands of Old Trinity, if they make it. St Bernard's as well. The Snake Pit is not a small ground, it's quite expansive, but I agree with Will. I like the idea. I went and watched, we had rep footy there, the pre-season rep carnival was there, and I thought the facilities were great. There's also a couple of nice establishments that you can just go for a wander down the road and just have another couple of ales after the game.
For the football?
I might have walked past a couple of pubs and walked in. It was pre-season, Marty. Just a nice summer day.
Yeah, it was. Why are you playing twos?
Yes, that and many other reasons.
Crowds are the question, of course, and if they can get an extra 3,000 people there or 2,000 people there, I think it's probably worthwhile. Of course, you limit your ability being inside a stadium to do the extra things that we've done here at Elsternwick Park in recent years, like children's farms and things to engage with families, etc. And bouncing castles. I'm not sure what the rules and restrictions are around those extra engagements that might get people through the gate.
Is it just the two games, the seniors and reserves on that particular day,
yeah,
or would there be...
And the thirds, I think, as well, leading in.
Oh, no, they're finishing up.
Oh, the thirds, you're right. Yeah,
so I was just wondering whether or not you would actually then go with, for example, something like under-19 Premier. So therefore it's a longer day, that way you can in actual fact maximise people coming through.
Might be a chance. I'm not sure what the entire plans are, but nevertheless I'm sure it'll be a discussion point in the coming weeks, and also as we get towards the day itself, and the reviews will tell the story, no doubt. Moving on to the football on the weekend, it was round 14 of William Buck Premier. The top four sides all clashed as they were heading into the round. Old Trinity hosted Old Carey and St Bernard's hosted Old Zavarians. Brent, you had a look at Old Trinity and Old Carey, and the Panthers led the Tees for a fair while in this game.
Yes, it was Panthers with 5-2 in the first quarter, and they really smashed Old Trinity around the clearances. The Old Trinity's better players couldn't get their hands on the ball, as adversely Carey's better players really used the ball well and they capitalised. And going to half time, they held a 21-point lead, but in the second half, Old Trinity's better players really stepped up. Their ability to win the ball in the stoppages, as they did not in the first half, was immense. Their ability, that really struck me, their ability to spread from a stoppage and then use the ball on the outside and hurt teams that way is sensational. And on daily, they're nearly unbeatable. Better players stood up really well in the last quarter as well. Harry Tinney kicked a couple of classy goals and he was just too good.
They haven't been beaten in the second half yet, have they?
No.
Trinity. So therefore, that was almost expected that they would come back. It'd be interesting to have a look at the stats to see how their first half scores as an average compare to their second half. So were they a 21-point better side in the second half? If so,
Yeah.
then
That'll be very
probably
interesting,
need to be a little bit
The
further
most
ahead.
amazing thing about that is everyone knows that they're a good second half side.
Yeah.
So how are they not preparing for the fact that they are going to come at them in the second half? You know, is it a case of sticking a couple of men behind the ball and just preparing? If you've got a bit of an advantage at half time,
Yeah.
maybe it's very early to go defensive at half time, but maybe you need to consider that.
Just to take the sting out of the game.
I don't see that as it's necessarily a defensive mechanism, putting one or two numbers behind the ball. I know it sounds defensive, putting numbers behind the ball, but if you can, I guess, intercept and stop their four-ace forward and then use the ball yourself, then that helps. But I think around the stoppages, that's where you've really got to beat them, because if they get first hands on the footy, they're off to the races.
Do you clog it down?
I think you should just clog it down, yeah. I think you should use a template. I don't know if anyone watched the game on Friday night with AFL and with the Brisbane and Hawthorn, but I may have been watching it. But just that Richmond forced that they stopped Hawthorn's run through the corridor, and that's where Trinity are just they're just brilliant. They run with hands through the corridor, and they trust their foot skills going forward. So you got to try and shut them down, make them kick long down the line, force the ball wide, and just repeat stoppages.
Old Severians took it up to St Bernard's for 3.5 quarters before the Burnies overran them in the final quarter. It was a huge contest, always is, between these two sides, and Zavs threw everything at the Snow Dogs but couldn't quite get there in the end. Zavs would be disappointed with this. They were in the four for a couple of weeks and they've dropped out again after not being able to quite get over St Bernard's, and they've always played well out there at the Snake Pit but weren't able to get over the line.
Now it is step one of my predictions here. Old Zavs losing to St Bernard's, and particularly today, on Saturday, I think just in the last quarter they will run over because St Bernard's just have a higher level of class throughout the side. I mean, the Zavs definitely performed pretty well throughout the afternoon, but I mean, Corley Beetham was pretty strong. In the end, St Bernard's were too good, probably just like Old Trinity against Old Kerry. There's just that class gap between 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment.
I would suggest though that the reaction of some supporters from Old Zavs was a little extreme. I mean, I hear that Fitzy has actually gone back to Adelaide.
He's packed it. He's thrown the toys out of the cot and he's packed his bags.
So no truth in that rumour, Will. You don't wish to actually confirm or...
Oh, he's a Q man. He's a Q man.
I'm a Q man.
Yeah.
Now.
Old Scotch and Bo Morris. This was the tale of the bottom two heading into the game. Old Scotch desperately needed the win, as did Bo Morris, if they wanted to continue their run in William Buck Premier. They weren't able to do so. Early stages of this game, though, it was just an absolute dogfight with the two sides just missing opportunities, countless opportunities. I'm not sure if anyone caught much of this game, but Old Scotch eventually powering away in the second half to win a game that took them actually out of the relegation zone.
So I would say in this game, I think we need to realise that Bo Morris played 6 under-19 players. So again, a very young group that they're trying to bring through. They've had a very good under-19 team over the past couple of years. I did actually see their under-19 Premier side on Saturday, and they were very good. Again, I think what's happened here is that maybe just those bigger, stronger, harder bodies probably in the end overran some of those younger boys from Bo Morris.
So by getting games into them, have they conceded that they're probably not going to be around in William Buck Premier next year? Get the games into them, get the young guys playing together in a senior side, and so they can make an assault in Premier B next year.
I don't think so. I still think you can feed the games into the younger boys. But I think that it's just now, it's almost that they have probably conceded the year that they need to look at what do we do, because I mean the drop-off rate, as we know, from 19s to seniors is quite alarming. So by actually encouraging them, showing them a pathway, showing them that also that they are good enough to stay and play at that level is really important. That you're not relying upon recruiting 24-year-olds or 27-year-olds. I mean that's fine in one area. But by having 18, 19-year-olds, then they become those 200 game players within your club, and they create a culture that's started in the juniors and they come through.
One guy that did play his 200th game for his club on the weekend was Shura Taff from Collegians, so congratulations to him. He became the third Collegians player to play their 200th game this year behind Charlie Holst and James Jorgensen. Unbelievably, those three players all played their first game for the club back more than a decade ago, so congratulations to Shura and the other two guys who've picked up their 200th game. But unfortunately for the Lions, they lost to Uni Blues, going down, and it sends them into the relegation zone for the first time since round 3. They're in big trouble, Will.
They are indeed, Andrew. Particularly, I think, Shura's very comfortable behind a camera. But I think that might be the issue here. There's too many guys playing the 200. They're ageing the Collegians. And playing the Uni Blues, they're up by 8 points at three-quarter time. Just couldn't continue on the last quarter. I'm not sure. I'm not saying their fitness is not quite up to it, but maybe that's
exactly what you're saying.
It is what I'm saying. I'm saying that. But I think that's part of the problem. Whether they can stay in Premier A now is something, after Scotch's win, is something that will unfold in the next few weeks. But
Yeah,
they're in strife.
their reserves are quite strong. However, they don't. Conversely, as opposed to Beaumaris, who've got a lot of good boys coming through the under-19s, the under-19s of Collegians are in a whole world of pain.
They've been disappointing post the Queen's birthday bye. I think they had a run of games where I think they went 3 or 4 in a row going to that bye, and post that bye they've been disgraceful.
Their points...
I don't dance around like Will does.
That's what we like. That's what we like. Their points for has been a real concern, Collegians. I think they've got the second lowest points for. They haven't kicked 1,000 points yet for the season, so they're averaging scores. Their percentage is horrible. I think really quite low for what we've expected from this club over the previous few years, and they need to win games pretty quickly.
They have been up for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds silly, but do you need to go back? I mean, I just bring Paul Newton, the president of Old Carey. He said a couple of years ago, Carey went down. He said they went down in 2014, and they learned to win again. They learned to rejuvenate. They learned to become a happier place. Is Collegians an unhappy place?
They played in the grand final last year, Marty.
Yeah,
they were pretty happy last year making it to a grand final.
No, I agree. But the previous year had been pretty awful, hadn't it? Really. I mean, and you would sort of attest to that. It's a struggle when you're losing, and it becomes contagious. And it's hard to snap out of those streaks.
I agree with you. I think with some teams, I think it's a burden to not get relegated, because as you said, when you do get relegated, you start to win again down there, and you might get some players back to the club, and then you just regroup.
Regenerate. The kids come through.
One team that did have the losing bug earlier in the season was Salle. They've now got the anti-losing bug because they haven't dropped a game in about 5 weeks.
Just keeping a lid on it too.
They're going beautifully, Salle. They won again on the weekend, this time at Uni Blacks.
Yes, at the Uni level, yeah.
Good win for Delar.
Yes, it was. And look, I've made some notes after just watching the game. I thought that it was a very subdued performance. And I know that sounds silly in the context of a game of footy, but I thought it was a very subdued performance by Blacks. Over the past couple of years, what we've become accustomed to is aggressive, full frontal assault at the player and the ball carrier from Blacks, and I just didn't see that in the vision. What I did see was I saw that they were almost polite.
Salle, interestingly, are only at 2 points behind University Blacks, but I reckon, Marty, they can make finals.
We're not going there.
They can make finals, Salle. They can keep winning. Their form has been good enough over the past month to go on and keep winning and make finals.
You think I make bold statements? You got Beaumaris in the last round too.
Tell me why they can't.
No, I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying that if you think about it, in the next couple of weeks, so this Saturday, there is a huge game on down at the formerly at Waverley Park. We're playing Collegians. That is a massive game for both clubs. Let's be serious. Delar are still 2 points above 9th position. That's it. So a loss there, all of a sudden they're back in that 9th position. So then so they still have to keep winning. They've still got to go out they've still got to play Trinity. They've got to play some Bernards. They're not easy contests to actually play.
We were saying it's a habit. If you're losing, it's a habit. If you're winning, it's a habit. Salle have got the non-losing habit at the moment, with the draw obviously in between there as well.
5 and draw over the last 6 weeks, I believe.
Yeah. No, look, the form line's been terrific. Again, getting some players to come back, and when the side is making changes, they're not making 8, 10, 12 changes.
I'll get onto it in good day, bad day, but the others are not making a case that they're locking away final spots, so De La Salle's there if they want it. Into other sections, Premier B, one team that is, well, we're looking all chasing St Kevin's, but the teams that are chasing that double chance, the Beeds, Mentone Tigers, Old Brighton and Old Melburnians. Well, the Tigers played Old Melburnians on the weekend and they made a bit of a statement as they took over second place in that table to possibly get first crack at Scobbs in the finals. And that's a really valued position, I think, going in as St Kevin's keep winning.
Agreed. Interesting though, they were down at three-quarter time. So again, as they tend to do down at Brindisi, they do get on a roll, and when they get on a roll, they're very hard to stop. Down there, St Beeds, they are very hard, and they kicked the sweep in the last quarter to overrun OMs. So a very good win.
They're a dangerous prospect as well. I mean, we've spoken about St Kevin's, and I think they'll go throughout the year undefeated. But is there a little bit of complacency slipping in? I don't know, I've heard a few people talk about it
The big
recently,
comments are being made tonight, and I really like it. You know, no one's sitting on the fence here. This is what this panel was supposed to be about.
I think I was either this week or last week, they rested about 8 or 10 players out of their best side.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's complacency, I think they're just managing their players, I think.
Managing it for September. That's it's a fair call by them, but at the same time...
Well, they're playing September. They're in the finals, so they're 4 games clear, so they're comfortably in September.
Well, they can afford to lose all.
I think if you can
still finish top 2.
I think if you can rest those players and not flirt with your form, I think all power to you.
Elsewhere in the section, it was a great win for Fitzroy, Marty. They did really well to beat Mazenod, who were in a bit of strife themselves.
Well, surely Mazenod would have seen that as a game that they would either, not necessarily mark down as a win, but they would actually that would be the line in the sand. I mean, we go back to games where you actually have to say, it's now or never. That was a game that they now need to look back at and they need to say, well, that's one we lost, and they put themselves in peril.
Plenty of other great results throughout the sections. Q didn't go to a third straight loss, so Will, tell us quickly about that, how they found themselves back on the winners list.
Look, it was a non-competitive effort from all Mentonians. You know, I'm going to put it out there. Q were pretty strong. Brazali came back. And kicked 7 goals.
Did W Barn play?
Came through the seconds. So whether
despite the fact that
I'm one of those players that unfortunately cannot just force his way straight back into the seniors, unlike Brazali and Margaritas, who are excellent players and made a huge difference on the weekend. Beezer, if you're watching this, I'm keen to play this week.
I believe Josh O'Brien didn't endear himself to the Old Mentonian faithful.
He's an antagonist, an old-fashioned antagonist, just like Brenton Mann was one day at the Victoria Park last season in Division 2. There's still talk of that game.
I don't know what you're speaking of.
Brenton, quick snapshot from Division 2. Before we finish, Division 1, confirming the relegations. Yarra Valley, I think they were relegated officially last week before this round of matches, but in Division 2, Brenton, you think it's all over for South Melbourne?
I think, unfortunately, yes it is, for a very proud club. St John's played them on the weekend. Both sides got up quite handsomely. Still a great club, but I don't know what happened down there this year. They're struggling for players, and
so the numbers in the reserves were. How did they go this week? I know they've had some struggles.
Unfortunately, they had a loss at the club. One of their past players passed away a number of weeks ago, and the good thing is a lot of players came back to the club in light of that. So their numbers. They've actually forfeited their reserves game in the game previous this year, but they had numbers in the twos. Even their president strapped on was ruckman for them, but it was good. But for a proud club, I think they're heading for Division 3, and Gary March might have to.
Well, but again, they go back.
The outskirts.
They go back. They become healthy.
It'd be a massive ask. They're 42% behind the Griffins, and they'd have to win every single game and rely on the Griffins losing all their games.
The Griffins
in the
are in
run
a
home.
bit of form too, so that's going to be tough.
It's time now for Good Day, Bad Day.
Because you had a bad day.
Marty, kick us off. Who had a good day on the weekend?
Well, ironically, we just spoke about it. Fitzroy, I think that in that game against Mazenod, I think they've actually preserved their status in B, Premier B, for another year. I think they've given themselves a little bit of breathing space, and ironically, Mazenod, bad day. If I was a Mazenod supporter, not impressed to see that.
Their under 18s are going along nicely though.
They're under 19s.
Under 19s.
No, they're under 19s. They're not going. They're in a very. It's
a confusing situation. have a look at the unders sections. Mazenod are there a couple of times.
Section 2 under 19. Mazenod 9. Unbelievable.
Will, who had a good day and a bad day?
Well, good day. I went with Marty's side, the D-La boys. They've gone from being in the relegation zone. They're still there, but they're 2 points above 8th and 9th, and they're 2 points below Blacks and Zaverians. So as we talked about before, they're a chance to play in the top 4 after looking like they were nowhere at the Queen's birthday break. They had a good day, and a bad day I went with UHS VU, who I think they've lost the past 5. They've capitulated for a side that a couple of years ago were pretty strong. They've obviously lost quite a few numbers, and they're looking like they're going to miss finals. Glen Ira are 4 points behind. Bad day for them.
Brenton, good day and bad day?
Good day for me. Down in Division 4, Westbourne Grammarian goal-kicking monolith Dale Collins bagged 5 against Salle and reached the ton was the first player in the VAFA to reach the ton, so that's a good day for him.
Do we have any photos of the scenes of what happened down there at all?
I don't believe so, but
Crazy.
I'm sure it's reminiscent of Dunstall and Ablett and Lockett kicking.
Fraser Gehrig at Adelaide Oval, where they all
The
swarmed.
ground was flooded with people and they swarmed and they got around him. And
A superb effort from...
So did they play him at half-back? He only kicked 5.
yeah, it's true, but they might have played fullback.
Superb effort from Dale Collins to kick his 100. Bad day?
Bad day for me. Monash Griffins reserves in Division 2 failed to score and had to watch Ivanhoe kick 44-25, 289. So that is not a good day for Monash Griffins reserves.
No, it's a tough day at the office, no matter what level of football you're playing. Good day for me. No doubt it's the top 2 in William Buck Premier St Bernard's and Old Trinity. They keep winning, and they were both headed, as we've mentioned at the top of the show, by the 3rd and 4th place side. Both the 3rd and 4th place sides had big things to play for, trying to secure their own finals positions, yet Old Trinity and St Bernard's were able to overhaul the deficit and get impressive wins. They're going beautifully at the moment. Bad day for Old Haileyburyans in Premier C. Thrashed by Marston on the weekend, and they're now in danger of missing the finals with Peninsula closing that gap. I think they had a 3-game break at one point. It's now down to a single game. Old Haileybury been thrashed by all 3 of the current incumbents in the top 4.
And they have a very poor percentage too.
They do indeed. So they're in a bit of strife, Old Haileyburyans. Hopefully they can hang on and have a crack at the finals. I hope you enjoyed it last week. It's back again. Willie B's, we're going to call it Crystal Ball.
Now I'm here again. Thank you, Andrew, for keeping the segment. I thought it was gone after last week. Seeing as Pegs did lose on the weekend, I'm keeping myself accountable here. I'm 1 out of 2 so far. Anyway, moving on to this week, we're going through the undefeated sides, and there are 3 still remaining in the senior sections. We have Scob, who are 14-0 and travelling beautifully. I believe they'll go through the year undefeated. But whether they can keep that up for the whole season,
Well, that's what going undefeated means. That's what going undefeated means generally.
So are you suggesting they're going to go undefeated home and away?
yes. And then I'm suggesting that St Bede's Bentone are going to come out and play a ripping game in the first week of finals. They still lose though. I still think St Kevin's. I think St Kevin's are unbelievable this season. I think they'd be on top in Premier Division right now.
So similar to Key
Hang on,
last year.
I've actually had that. I've already had a couple of people suggest that recently, that there's going to be actually a second grand final. Once the Premier A grand finalist has been, or the Premier has been chosen, they're going to have the Prem B play Prem A grand final to determine the real champion.
Will that be at the MCG after moving from Icon Park?
Number 2, we have the Canterbury Cobras are in Division 4, and I believe they're going to lose in round 18 when they play Westbourne Warriors. Dale Collins will kick 6. However, Canterbury will come back in the grand final and knock off Westbourne because Dale Collins will kick 4 that day. Then finally, Emmaus St Leo's, they're a class above. They'll go undefeated for this the whole season. They play West Brunswick in a couple of weeks though, which will be a very interesting contest. And in finals, they choked last year. They should have been up in Division 2. So they're definitely a risk to go down to the finals. I think they'll lose to West Brunswick in the finals, in the semi-final, and possibly in the grand final.
It's interesting. It's the final 6 in Division 3 and Division 4, so they'll get a double chance being on top, so they'll get a second shot in the prelim
So
final.
they won't
before
lose
grand
the
final.
qualifying final.
No. Rightio. That takes us into the next part of the night, and that's Marty Gallagher's Wine of the Week.
Thanks, Andrew. This week, we're actually celebrating Tibilk being named the James Halliday Winery of the Year. which is a terrific accolade for 155 years of wine growing at Tabilk. And I'm holding up the 95 point awarded Tabilk Eric Stevens Purbrick, which is Alistair, the current CEO. It's his grandfather, named after his grandfather, Cabernet, 95 points. For you, I can do a deal for you, but you'll need to contact me. And no doubt, Will, I'm sure that you and I would like a glass of this at the end of the season. So we'll actually
End of the show, more likely.
Let's.
We're not invited.
No.
Well, he was dribbling last week at the Pinot Gris.
Brendy's got enough pubs in Carlton.
Yeah, he has to go to all those pubs.
And many others.
My wine of the week is people who interrupt both the picture and the sound in front of the cameraman at the football. I know that you like to actually support your team. However, the gentleman who stands in front of the cameraman at Old Scotch, move. It's not all about you, okay? It's all about me watching the game, and it's all about those who can't get to the game to watch it. And I've just been informed by Brenton, who actually watched the Old Trinity game on tape, that the lady at Old Trinity, you have a rather piercing voice. If you could actually pick your seat up and move it away, that's fine. Please, by all means, support. We love your support. However, we do like to actually hear some of the other comments, and we like to actually watch the game uninterrupted. Thank you.
A beautiful way to finish, Marty. Yeah, it's just general consideration, isn't it? Be aware of where you're standing.
It's not. It's a pot at them.
Fair enough. Good on you, Marty. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Brenton. Hope you've enjoyed the show, everyone. This has been The Tragics. We'll see you again next week.
VAFA TV at vafatv.com.